All right, everyone. Well, why don't we get started, because I think it's a few minutes past the hour, and I'm sure you're all excited to find out what we're looking at today. And really, this is primarily about IELTS. In particular, we're going to look at some techniques, some strategies for how we can give a great answer on the IELTS score. And I know that it's kind of a relative thing. What I mean is it kind of depends on the question and the individual about what makes it great. But really, we're going to look at a good model that you can use and practice in your free time. And really, we call these little live sessions learning hacks. Does anyone know what the word hack means? You want to put it in the chat? Tricks? Yeah, exactly. I like the word tricks because it implies small, right? But that's it. Yeah, like a learning hack is a small but effective strategy for improving your English language development. So of course we have life hacks, which make life easier, and we can use those to make improvements to our own life. But here we're looking at learning hacks, or little tips, as Charmaine has just said. So a lot of these are actually based on our quick fixes, which we provide to our students through our store. And basically, our quick fixes are little short lessons on specific features of language or a skill. So this quick fix is actually, this learning hack is part of a much larger 60 to 90-minute online lesson that you can sign up for. And really, it helps you with this kind of immediate need, which is practice giving fuller and stronger answers on the IELTS. And we don't only focus on IELTS with these quick fixes. We actually offer a variety of language skills. For example, conversational skills, academic skills, and of course, test-taking skills. And we would encourage you to check those out, because it's an affordable way to study, but also it's very independent. These are all asynchronous courses. That means that these are all courses online that you can study at your own pace. So please do check them out. And then also we have our School of Learning, and I know some of you are already members. I believe some of you who have signed up, hopefully you're attending or coming into the meeting gradually. But it's just basically, again, a library of online tools and supports for people who want to learn English on their own. And it's a $5 payment, and you can access that library for as long as you need. I know we technically can't say forever, because I think there are probably lots of things, but it is just, you pay $5 and you're never taken out of the course. So again, please take advantage of this. It's affordable.
Forever is a long time, but
but forever is a four-letter word, or a bad word in some contexts.
Yes.
That might be the topic of our next learning hack, right? the good and bad of forever. So let's get into it. Okay, so we've already welcomed one another. I think a great place to start will be the IELTS rubric, because although many of you have taken it, you might not be sure actually how your band is actually chosen or selected. So we will talk briefly about that, and we'll look at we'll look at the way grammar, but not only that, types of grammar can really impact our score. And then we're going to look through some model answers. So, and again, we'll hopefully have time for some of us to contribute in audio and practice together. So let's just get started. So first of all, the rubric for the speaking test is basically based on these 4 parts. And just maybe in the chat, can anyone tell me what fluency and coherence means? And maybe for this part, we can add some audio. So if you just want to shout out, for example, fluency means this or coherence means this, that's okay. So please feel free to unmute yourself.
Maybe fluency it is related to using a range of vocabulary, coherence when you are able to put your idea in a clear way using different type of structure, showing that you know about the language, you are able to use a range of grammar, structure, vocabulary, and so on.
Exactly, and I think what you're getting at is true. That coherence is about linking the ideas. Fluency is just your ability to keep going. So we're looking at two things here.
Sorry to interrupt, Mike. Marcelo has a good word in the chat. He uses the word flow. So he says fluency
Oh,
means the flow of speaking.
that's right. And then the coherence, as Etienne said, is the ability to link it in a way that's understandable. What about lexical resource? That's a fancy word, lexical resource. Lexical approach, yeah. Marcelo, yeah. Chunks of language, good. So yeah, I think that's what we're getting at. We're getting at vocabulary, Charmaine, exactly. So when students say, I need to build my vocabulary, or someone has an extensive vocabulary, um, that's what we mean. We mean they have high or a lot of lexical resource. Also, the word chunks is important because it's not that you know one word, it's that you know the words that go around the other word. So as we know, when we learn one word, we need to learn the words that come before and after. And some words also have natural combinations. For example, environmental is a word, but a natural combination might be environmental issue, environmental hazard, environmental problem. So
Marcelo's on fire here. He's got collocation, the word collocation in the chat.
exactly. So you're actually graded on your ability to use collocations. And also idioms would come in here. So I think idioms would be not only the literal meaning of words, but rather the figurative meaning of words. And this is valued on the speaking test. Grammar and accuracy? What does that mean? I think, I'm wondering if someone's going to type this. Yeah. And again, feel free to speak, everyone, because we really want to have a good community. Yeah, that's right. The ability to use grammar in the right manner. And also, as you'll see today, it's about using a variety of structures. And really, that's what today's focus is. And it's not about making mistakes. I just want to be clear. People say, if I make mistakes, I'll get a lower score on the IELTS. That's half true, but that's not the whole story. That's not completely accurate. On the IELTS test, the fewer mistakes you make is what is rewarded. It's okay to make mistakes. Just try to limit the number of those mistakes. And then pronunciation, I'm sure we're all clear on. What's really interesting about the IELTS is that if you look at the writing task, it's very similar. So why is this important? Well, this is important for you in learning and having learning hacks, that by studying one skill, you're actually helping the other skills. And this is consistent with theories about how we learn languages. So for example, if I'm reading a lot, I'm actually going to help other skills like speaking and writing and vocabulary. So it's really important that regardless of what you do in English, a great learning hack is just doing it. So if you can listen to a podcast or a YouTube video a day and find a few new words, that's actually good for your speaking as well. I know a lot of people like to actually read or listen to something and then try to create their own similar example. Again, these are great techniques. The point that I'm trying to make is it's easy to prepare for the production side of the IELTS with just focusing on, a few regular tasks. And today we're really going to focus on these ones. We're not going to worry too much about pronunciation. We will talk about pronunciation at a later time, but not so much with IELTS because, again, I think these other 3 skills are quite important and more transferable. So the ones that you use in the speaking test also connect to the writing test. So it's very useful. So let's have a quick quiz. Now, today for our learning hack, we're going to focus on sentence variety and why it's important. So can anyone give me, please, just no bad words, please. Can anyone, if you want, type in a simple sentence about yourself? Now, if you don't know what a simple sentence is, just write a sentence about yourself, because I'm sure we'd all love to know. If you want to say something, again, no bad words, please. But please tell us something right now about yourself in a simple sentence. I only say don't swear because I have a tendency to swear sometimes.
Ediani, LOL is not a sentence.
I'll be quiet. Okay.
Okay.
What about a compound sentence? Thank you, Saman. Saman has a great simple sentence. So let's move on to compound sentences. Wonderful. Okay. What about a complex sentence? Okay, so this is actually quite interesting. We have one here with a relative clause. Okay, excellent. Any other ones? Any other types of complex structures that you know? If you do know some, please contribute them to the chat. There we go. Yeah, so we'll look a little bit at that later, actually. Conditionals would be considered complex, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, so if your brain's not already on fire, it will be shortly. Can anyone give us a compound complex sentence? And again, the complex structure can come before the compound structure. I'll give you a clue. It has 3 clauses. Not bad. I only see 2 clauses there, though. That's all right. That's no problem. Okay.
It's a great sentence, though.
That's fine. No, don't worry. Don't worry. We're gonna practice. Now, I know you're thinking, Mike, why is this? What's the point here? Well, the point is this, everyone. Again, this is a learning hack. Now, I just want to draw your attention to the grammar, which would be fluency is at the beginning. In the middle, we have the lexical, and then here we have in the third column, we have the grammar. Now you'll see here that level in band 4 that it says produces basic sentence forms and some simple sentences, but subordinate structures are rare. What they mean here, and this is the public version of the rubric, so don't worry about the copyright or anything like that. You can access this on your own if you wish. But it's saying that unless you have one complex sentence, you'll never get higher than a 4 on the grammar portion. Let's have a look at the level 5, band 5. So again, produces some sentence forms with reasonable accuracy. And there are some complex structures, but they usually have errors. So here what it's saying is, even if you try to use these subordinate clause structures, conditionals, and so on, and they have mistakes, you're still going to get a 5 here because you're trying to use them. So that means you have an awareness of them. So it goes back to what I said earlier about making mistakes. Don't panic. If you panic and stop speaking, it's going to reduce your fluency, right? And then you're harming both. So again, use them, and if you make a mistake, that's okay. Again, frequent mistakes with complex structures, but they rarely cause comprehension problems. So again, you're still making mistakes, but they're not, the cohesion is still there. You're linking them correctly. So in this sense, it's okay, and you're using more of them. And then if we look finally, it says that you're frequently using complex sentences. Sorry, it says you're frequently using complex sentences. Not only that, very few mistakes, and you're using flexibility. What does the word flexibility mean here? This word here, flexibility, in the top line. What do you think they mean? What is the examiner thinking when they say, oh, good flexibility? Yes, not only adaptability about different topics, but your ability to use different forms of complex sentences, using although, even though, despite, if, and a lot of these subordinate conjunctions. And really, that's why it's so important. And that on its own is a learning hack. Knowing that if you can master complex sentences and link them coherently, you're already helping yourself maximize 2 scores, fluency and the grammar. So let's start off. So let's do this. So here we see a list of we see 2 columns. Column 1, you have the beginning of sentences. Column 2, you have the ending. Let's practice this. Let's practice the coherence, linking them, as well as the grammar and the variety of sentence structures. So just take a few minutes. Andrew, maybe set a timer here for 3 minutes. On your own, if you have a piece of paper, just passively, quietly. If you do have a question, please feel free to put it in the chat or ask. But for now, self-study, match the beginnings in column 1 with the endings in column 2. 3 minutes.
Here we go.
Looks like at least one person's all set, so that's great.
Yeah.
How are we doing for time? Andrew, give us a countdown.
That was 90. So 90 seconds left. 90 seconds left. Okay, 20 seconds, countdown.
I always get nervous.
Don't be nervous, don't panic. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right.
All right. Now, Marcelo was the brave one who put the answers in the chat. So
Yeah.
let's see how he did. But first of all, Andrew, I just want to say you are a wonderful person and a good friend.
Oh, well, thank you.
You inspired me to write number one. Sorry, folks.
Jeez.
Sometimes we have this love fest here. I'm sorry. I'll go.
I never get tired of hearing it, I'll tell you.
All right. So again, just quickly check your answers. Give yourself a pat on the back if you were correct. If you weren't correct, that's okay too. It's not a test. It's more just a sharing. Now here, I guess, would be the final kind of stage of this activity: is which one of these are simple sentences, which ones are compound sentences, and which ones are complex sentences, based on what we've already said so far about subordination, some conjunctions, the number of clauses. And again, maybe just take 1 minute to think about each one, or all of them. Sorry, take 1 minute to think about all of them. So that would be about less than 10 seconds.
Oh, look at you doing math. That's fun.
I'm trying. Oh, yikes. Scary stuff, folks.
Oh, I can't do it.
All right, yeah, let's have a look. So if you're curious, and if we're going too fast, when we're looking at these types of sentences, again, this is connected to the quick fix that we have, which actually really looks at these and explains each one in detail and provides some additional practice. But essentially, with a simple sentence, we're looking at one independent clause. A compound sentence, we're looking at two independent clauses, which are joined in various ways. A complex sentence also has two clauses, if you look at number 4, but we can see, as Andrew put in the chat, we can see it has a subordinating conjunction. So it has a dependent clause. In other words, it's an unfinished clause, that sentence. If you listen carefully, what, Mike, what? So it's dependent on more information. And then a compound complex sentence is, again, a sentence that has 3 clauses linked by a complex sentence and independent, a compound sentence and another independent clause. But again, we're not really focusing too much on this. It's just as you study on your own and as you're reading a magazine or a blog post, it's a good idea to go through and just say, hey, let me see how many complex sentences are used. More importantly, a great technique is to say, let me see when the complex sentences are used. I think what you'll find is that they tend to be used to introduce 2 sides of a story or to evaluate something. Like, if I say something like exercise is really important. If you exercise a lot, you can reduce, you can burn calories, and that will benefit your health. So it's really important that you not only know these types of sentences, but how they're used in natural speech, in natural conversation, and then where you can also use that on the test. And that's exactly what we're going to look at next. So in general, let's say this is an audio task. How about, can anyone want to answer this? So how would you answer this question? So this maybe is part 3 of the IELTS. It could be a writing prompt as well, but part 3 of the speaking test, the kind of conversation aspect of it, usually involves a series of questions. And one of the choices is, giving or stating possibilities. And a common question of that would be something like, what can individuals do to help their local community? So how would you answer that? If you want to unmute yourself and just give us a short little answer, that would be great. If you want to type in the chat, that would be also great.
We don't help anybody. Nobody helps.
Yeah. No, we don't help. Oh gosh, no. No. We want you to have your voice.
Okay, Marcelo has a okay. So firstly, they need to get to know their community to be aware of the real needs of the people. Okay,
That's awesome.
I love it.
Mhm. What I really like about that response, Marcel, is also it could lead into an example. So the fluency, right? You could say something like, take for example, right? Take for example, my hometown, right? My hometown, there are many homeless people. So a good starting point. Yeah, like that type of. I like how you did like a point. Naturally, what comes after a point? An example.
Flora has a longer sentence here.
Really good. What I really like about this is the lexical resources. So I think words like eco-friendly show that you can be precise. So you're not just saying take care of the environment, you're saying eco-friendly. So you're thinking of one word that has quite significant meaning. And I love the idea contribute. Okay, so let's look at an example and let's just talk it over. So how would you rate this this sentence? Task achievement, is it answering the question? Yeah. Fluency and coherence, does it show fluency and coherence? Maybe not, right? Because it's just one clause. Lexical resources, is there the precise? Yeah, sounds like Flora says it's not developed. I think you're right. If it's only one clause, then you're not gonna get fluency and coherence. Remember, we need complex sentences or compound complex sentences because it shows continuance, right? Lexical resources, no, a big one here, folks, just if we were to go through this, a big one here would be this word. We have lots and this other word here, things. Sorry, my line's a little thick there. But things shows you don't know the word. Things like, now it's okay to say things like that, but again, your IELTS, the purpose of the IELTS test is, the speaking test is a conversation. It's not really, it's meant to be a conversation in many ways, especially part 3. But it's your chance to show what you know. So if you use words that are vague, like things, it's great in everyday conversation, but in a proficiency test, we would want to add another word. Is there a way we could make this more precise? What's another word for things? You can say here, or lots. Yeah, exactly. Projects, actions. Yeah, exactly. That's what we're getting at. Yeah. And lots, we could say significant or many or several or another determiner there. Well, let's look at another one. You folks are on the ball. This is really good. Let's look at another one. So answer 2. So this one's a little longer. So task achievement, I mean, it's answering the question. That's for sure. Fluency, stronger or weaker than the last one? Yeah, and I think, Maria, I think this goes back to what Marcelo wrote earlier. We have a point, and then we have that example. So that's a good place to start, right? You offer a point, and then you just add an example. So that's a nice, easy way of increasing your coherence and fluency. Lexical resources, are there any words that show that this speaker has a little bit slightly higher vocabulary? Absolutely. So ways could be methods, to be fair. I think we could make that, but yeah, contribute. Um, oh, great suggestion. So Flora's saying that she would replace many with countless or several. I think that's great. And actually, I would say countless in this case would probably result in a higher band score for this, a sub-score, I should say, because countless carries figurative meaning, right? This idea of countless, it shows that you're trying to get an emotional response from the listener. Countless, like countless sounds like, in this case, countless options means that it's, as you said, it's numerous, but also countless deaths would also create a trigger. It would trigger an emotional response that would make me feel pity and sympathy. So because you're using you know what, Simon, you're right. Loads of ways is just as good. And a lot of people make this mistake. They think the IELTS is formal. As I said earlier, the IELTS speaking test is for you to demonstrate how in natural, numerous loads, how in natural speech, you can, again, convey, give as much meaning and subtle meaning or nuance or implied meaning. So these are all awesome suggestions. But again, thank you, Simon, because a lot of people get caught up. They try to be too academic on the IELTS speaking test, but really loads of ways is actually an idiom, right? It's this kind of colloquial English, and you definitely would score high for that. Great suggestion. Oh, and then finally, 3. Oh my gosh, getting a little bit silly there. So let's go. Task achievement. I think we would say stronger just because it's a fuller answer. Fluency and coherence. Much stronger because, again, these ideas are linked. Let's look at lexical. So lexical, any words that stand out? That would be a chunk, find something challenging. That would demonstrate knowledge of chunking. Chip in, that would be idiomatic speech. What does chip in mean? I think someone said it earlier in the chat. It rhymes with contribute. Oh, it is contribute. Sorry, that was a bad joke there. Yes. So chip in or contribute. Do their part. Do one's part. Someone already said this in the chat. Numerous ways, numerous strategies. And then again, one small act. And then finally, sorry, I'll just clear all those, comes to mind. So I think, like, you know, in summary, what we're really looking at here is as we practice for the IELTS independently, we can think a little bit about, we can do something as easy as just thinking of a question in this case, it's a options question. You know, what are the options? What are the ways? Another type of question you probably have come across is compare. Who's more responsible, individuals or government, for supporting local communities? What other types of questions do they have there? Maybe prediction.
I could just jump in just for a second, Mike, because Flora mentioned something, a good phrase as well for the opposite, because this question, I think we would say, is pretty open-ended with many possibilities of how someone could help, right? But what if there aren't very many? What if the question is more specific and she said the phrase, there are only so many ways to, and then to do whatever we're doing? Because this question, of course, we could think of many possibilities. And then the 2 or 3 that we could mention, then the subtle meaning that you're talking about means that I think those 3 out of all of them are the most important. But on the opposite, there are only so many ways we can recycle. I don't know. But
yeah, and I think what that response tells me is that, you know, Flora's kind of well thought out this kind of internal speech in her own mind, right? Like, and I think if you have that ability to incorporate that critical thinking into your responses, then absolutely it's going to result in a significantly higher score. for the learning hack, if you're at the opposite end, where you're still figuring out the grammar and the accuracy, I would just recommend that you try to stick to answers that have at least one complex sentence and maybe a simple sentence that might introduce an example. But Flora is 100% correct. On the one hand, you might be just trying to get to that level 6, 6.5, so you can get into a university program. On the opposite, you might be looking at a 7 or 8, so you have more points, so you can immigrate to a country and get a job and a visa. So I think 100%, Flora, you're absolutely spot on. And it's nice. I think this learning hack, and I think your suggestion shows that we're at, each of us is at a different end of the IELTS spectrum, and yeah, and we can start in one spot and then finish where you've just suggested, Flora. I think that's excellent. And that's really why I like this group setting, because students tend to have better ideas than I do about teaching and learning. So thank you, Flora. That's awesome. So let's just quickly think a little bit about this. So we've talked a little bit about this in review. So the fluency and coherence, while one small act. So we have this kind of referring back to the points. Again, for lexical resources, we have a mix of idioms. We have some precision, precise words. I should have highlighted contribute as well, because some of you mentioned that in the chat. And grammar and accuracy, again, grammar, we have at least one complex sentence. And I can't stress that enough. The more that you have those complex structures, the higher this score will just naturally, it has to be. Okay, because again, if this is invigilated by a second examiner, they're going to say, why did you give them such a low score? They use so many complex structures. So it's going to benefit you to just use those. And I think Flora's last point there about using your own logic and your own knowledge of conversation and how to enhance conversation by using the reverse or opposite arguments. It's a great way to also connect with the examiner. And I can't stress that enough. It is a conversation, okay, everyone? Don't think of it as a formal test. The writing aspects, you know, the listening, speaking, or sorry, the listening and the reading, yeah, that's more of a test. But when you get to that, the IELTS speaking, it's really just a great opportunity for you to celebrate how much English you know. And I want you to think about it that way, okay? So I think this would be a great place to finish off. Not everyone feels comfortable, especially if it's being recorded, to give their responses. But what we would love is for you to keep this interaction going with us on social media. So let's look at this question. Flora's already given us some great ideas. So have all the other students that are here tonight. How would you finish this? My only challenge would be try to have at least one complex structure and try to think about how you can maximize your lexical resource scores and your coherence and cohesion by providing an example or some extra detail. And share your response on Instagram. I think, Andrew, you said you might create a thread tomorrow.
I think I will do. Yeah, we'll make a post on our Instagram page and just talking about what we talked about here in this session, and then anyone can just post their sentence or their answer there for that question, and just again a revision of what you thought about in the original sentence.
And I think as I mentioned earlier, you know, these are all tied to our quick fixes, and I would encourage you to check them out. You get like a 90-minute lesson essentially for only $14 Canadian. I know that times are tough, but it's just another option. Now, the other thing I was going to say is we would love your ideas for future quick fixes and future learning hacks. So also maybe in that thread that Andrew sets up tomorrow, please let us know if there's something you would like us to cover. Andrew and I have taught extensively in academic English, so some people might just want to talk a little bit about citing on citation or APA and what that means. Some of you might just want some help with other aspects of the IELTS test. Let us know, because that's what this is about. This is our chance to engage with you and interact with you. And really, we want to do stuff you're interested in. Otherwise, there's no real point, because I get to see Andrew every day. As handsome as he is, I get to see him every
You're a
day.
lucky man, I tell you.
I think someone told me marriage is like that as well.
I just
So
wanted to
do
mention
check us out. And that's it. Yeah.
the
Yeah,
quick
please.
fixes. They're called quick fixes, with the idea that they can be quick, but you can do them as many times as you like, and they are recorded lessons. So we've heard from lots of our students, and they like it because you can do it at whatever time you want to do. You don't have to show up at 8 o'clock or 7:30 or whenever the teacher is there. So they're designed to be 60 minutes to 90 minutes, and they have videos and audios and homework and
Answer
tasks,
keys. Yeah.
answers, and they're all $10 US dollars, and that right now is $14 Canadian. So for 60 to 90 minutes, and they're all specific, like what Mike did today with patterns. And there's some here for if you're in academic English, for journal articles, for example, or just general English for conversation skills. And of course, we are making more every week. But if you have something that you want to learn, email us, Instagram us, or another way, and we'll make one just for you.
And thank you very much for your feedback. And I hope that I really hope you enjoy Teacher Talking Time. If you don't know, we also have the Cult of Learning podcast, which is for students. And I forgot to mention. And actually, each episode goes with a copy of our newsletter. These are free, by the way. So it goes with a copy of our newsletter. And the newsletter usually has some collocation or idiom practice based on what was said in the actual learner podcast. So, hey, great additional listening. What I said earlier, when you're listening, you're still building your other skills, right? So I would encourage you to access that learner podcast as well, because you do get the vocabulary exercises or reflective tasks along with that.
All right. Yeah, thank you for listening. That's great. How can we
That's
forget
great.
the podcast? I can't believe we
I
forgot
know.
that. Yeah.
You forgot
So I put the link there in the chat. We're also going to send you an email tomorrow just as a thank you for attending and coming and hanging out with us, because we have nothing else to do at night. So thank you for joining us and spending time. And we'll put the link for the podcast there as well, so that if you like to listen, we have two types of podcasts, and one is for teachers and one is for students. So it's the same link, but the ones with the title Cult of Learning are the ones for students. And Marcel, yes, it's on Spotify. So if you look for Teacher Talking Time, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, basically any app that you can find. I will also find we have a link tree, if you give me 1 second, that has the link directly to all of those apps. So here we go. I'll put that link in the chat. That will also be in the email tomorrow as well.
And if you just want to ask us a quick question, just about life in general, that's fine. Because this is a great opportunity for us to actually meet our audience. We really do crave this. And that's why we're hopefully going to share it. Well, we will share it on YouTube as well. So we can get to our larger. Oh, yes. So we started 2 years ago, Andrew. It's hard to believe.
Yeah, I know. Time
2 years
flies.
ago.
Yeah.
And we've changed dramatically. We started off expecting to be teaching online lessons. But we realized that that wasn't where our hearts were. We love this interaction with the students, but we really love designing lessons and helping people find ways of learning outside of the classroom. So we found that was our passion, and that's why we've decided to focus more on this way of doing.
And we discovered too that, we know this, that people like to learn what they want to learn kind of when it's convenient for them. So it was hard, especially with a global community of people in many different countries and different time zones, to find a time that's good for everybody. So in this way, we hope it's convenient for everyone, and you can log in and you can do these lessons whenever is best time for you.
But
Oh, and what are you teachers?
Oh.
Yes. Oh, well, we are teachers, so maybe we haven't reinvented ourselves in a philosophical way as well. But no, we are teachers, and Mike and I met when we used to teach at a university in Toronto, in Canada, and that's how we met with our other partner as well, with Leo, who's the third musketeer of our venture.
Yeah, yeah. You probably know Leo from Instagram. He's
I'm
our
sure.
Instagram
Yes.
representative. Yes,
Yes.
and oh, he does a fantastic job. He's wonderful. And I'm also still a student. I'm doing my PhD, so I can empathize with all the students out there, especially those of you who are currently. I know that a few of you have mentioned that you're reading journal articles and other conversations we've had. So I can relate. So if you
Yeah.
do need some coaching on that, we have a quick fix, but that's something we can also
They're
talk a
tough.
little bit.
They're tough. All right.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much. Enjoy your evenings. Rest your brains, and we look forward to seeing your responses on Instagram.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining. And we plan to do this about once a month as well. So look out for the next notice of the next group session.